now, but my question would be, you and your guest earlier made accusations about Trump's wife, sleeping with Trump, not doing this, everything that you can imagine. As Mohammed alluded to, you have no evidence of that.
Sure, yes, I do. And let's talk about that. First of all, Donald Trump was found liable by a jury of his peers for sexually abusing E. Jean Carroll. That is not just an... Hold on. JD, slow down. I'm talking about the way he's lived his entire life, and I'm going to answer your question, and then I'll give you a chance to respond. If we talk over each other, that's not going to do our listeners any good. So I'm going to start over again. Donald Trump was found liable for sexual abuse in a court of law. It involved E. Jean Carroll, and a jury of his peers agreed that he sexually abused E. Jean Carroll. That's number one. Number two, it is a known fact that Donald Trump has cheated on every single one of his wives, and he has 5 different kids with 3 different women. That's number two. Number three, his own ex-wife, who has since passed away, said in a court deposition under oath that her husband, Donald Trump at the time, raped her. The case was closed because Donald Trump paid her an undisclosed amount of money to close the case, which she accepted. 25 other women, let me repeat, 25 other women have accused him of sexual assault or rape. Now, if you come from the cloth of, which I would imagine you do, that all these women are lying, that the jury got it wrong and E. Jean Carroll's a liar, Donald Trump's ex-wife was a liar, then you are entitled to that absurd opinion. But it is my opinion, based on the evidence provided and the information that I just gave you, that Donald Trump has sexually abused women. And if you don't believe it, you can drink the Kool-Aid and you can go ahead and do that, JD. Next question, please. Check me. Next question.
Well, I would like to respond to 2 points. The Eugene Carroll, first of all, was financed by a Democrat billionaire to go after
So
him.
Does that mean it didn't happen? Does that mean it didn't happen?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm just
okay, then irrelevant.
Background.
Then irrelevant. Go ahead. Next.
She could not even remember what year it happened.
Okay, I'm going to go with that. No, hold on. I'm going to go with that now. She couldn't remember what year it happened. Let me tell you something, buddy. I've had women here in studio that I believe were raped by Bill Cosby. One woman who lives here in Vegas, who didn't even remember what exactly took place in the assault because she was drugged. There are women decades later that have come forward with evidence that they were sexually abused by Bill Cosby. So for you to say, well, she didn't even remember exactly when it happened, does not mean and is not a defense for it didn't happen. Next.
Well, her statements, I believe, were sometime in the 90s.
So, JD, here's the bottom line. Okay, and now we're going to move on to something else, okay? The bottom line is, no matter what you believe and what your opinion is about E. Jean Carroll, a jury of Donald Trump's peers found him liable for sexual abuse. The judge characterized it as rape. That is what we call evidence and reasoning and context to believe that he probably did sexually abuse her. I'm not going to litigate the case with you again. And if you want to continually defend this guy, you do that at another time. I've exhausted this conversation with you. Is there anything else you'd like to bring up on another topic?
Well, the other 25 women, why didn't they press charges?
I can't believe we're still on this, and I can't believe you don't seem to understand how this country works. You see, JD, there are plenty of circumstances in this country, plenty of times where men or women have sexually abused their spouses or sexually abused strangers, and they are very much afraid to come forward. In the Bill Cosby case,
all 25 of them.
I am not finished yet. There are dozens and dozens of women that did not come forward when it came to the Bill Cosby sexual abuse cases. And the reason, because I've interviewed some of these women, unlike you, and I asked them that same question, why didn't you come forward earlier? And all of them gave me different reasons. Some of them said that they were afraid of repercussions. That was a weird breath there. Are you pleasuring yourself to Donald Trump right now on the phone, JD? That
No,
was
I'm
very
just
strange.
taking a deep breath. I'm
Okay.
sorry.
Okay. Well, anyway, there are many of different reasons why people don't come forward as fast as in a perfect world. I wish they would come forward right away. It doesn't mean it didn't happen. This man has a history of it. Why is it every time I bring up Donald Trump, no matter what it is, you always seem to want to defend him? Why is that, JD?
I'm just going by the facts and what I know.
You're going by the facts. You're going by the facts. Here's a fact. Donald Trump, tell me if I'm wrong. Donald Trump is a liable sexual abuser. Donald Trump is a 34-count convicted felon. Hey, JD, I'm just going by the facts. Did I say something that's not factually accurate? Yes or no?
No, you're correct.
Okay, thank you. Checkmate. Anything else that you'd like to talk about?
Well, you talked about the Trump rally you were at last week.
Yes,
and,
sir.
the
Yes, sir.
obscene signs and things that you observed.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yes, sir. I was there, and I posted video on social media.
Why did you take any pictures of them and post them?
Okay, so this is how ignorant JD is. JD, with all due respect, not only did I take pictures, I also did something called video on my phone. I posted it. Midas Touch reposted my videos, and some of my videos have millions of views. It's not my fault.
Where can I?
Okay, hold on. Here's where I was going to give you some advice, JD. Okay, there's something called X. I have an X page. Okay, I'm glad we agree on that. There's also something called YouTube. I don't know if you ever heard of that before. You see, here's what you do, JD. You see, I go to these rallies. I take videos and pictures. I was also interviewed by a couple news entities who played my interview on their news that night. I post the videos up on social media, on X and YouTube. JD, do you know how to do that? Do you know what YouTube is?
I already answered yes.
Okay, so how come you haven't gone on my X and my YouTube and you just assumed I didn't post anything? I'm just curious, that's all.
Well, because I didn't know about it till about a half hour ago, sir.
Okay, you didn't know about it. Okay, that's a fair excuse, so just judge me. Okay, so anything else you'd like?
Fair excuse.
Gotcha. Okay, is there anything else you'd like to bring up today, JD?
Well, I grew up in a middle-class family.
Okay.
And that's the reason why kids in the community are part of the community. And I grew up in a middle-class family, and that's my answer to the inflation. And that's my Miss Kamala is a transformer, and I think she's a very good actress.
She's a transformer. That's a very strange.
Yep.
What does you being grown up in the middle class have anything to do with?
Because she answers every one of her questions. I'm sure you're aware of her answers to some of the questions she's being asked. And every time she's asked a question specifically about inflation or about Afghanistan or about troops being in foreign countries, she starts off with growing up in a middle-class family, and her mother didn't buy a home until she was a teenager in Canada.
So where are you confused, JD? What policy are you referring to that she didn't answer? Because I'll answer it for her.
Well, she didn't answer on the debate.
About what?
Regarding the inflation rate.
Actually, she did. Actually, she did, and I'm going to answer it for. No. Okay, JD.
No, she didn't.
Here's the problem, JD. People like you with all that MAGA wax in your ears that don't know what X or Twitter is, I'm going to help you out. You see, she was asked about Afghanistan. First of all, she spoke about Donald Trump's policies, if we're going to talk about Afghanistan to start. Donald Trump negotiated with the Taliban. Something that Barack Obama never did was negotiate with terrorists. Donald Trump helped release 5,000 Taliban terrorists and then invited them to Camp David. But that's not something you'll ever bring up. That's number one. Number two, John Bolton, who worked in Donald Trump's administration, has said time and time again, who knows a little bit more about foreign policy than you or I do, I would argue, has said that Donald Trump's policies were almost identical in the Afghan withdrawal. That's number two. So I'm going to take that person's word. And when talking about Afghanistan, and when talking about foreign entities, which you seem to care about, it's Donald Trump who has mingled with evil, murderous dictators like Vladimir Putin, like Kim Jong-un. He writes love letters to these people. And when he says, I would end the war in a day, he doesn't give any specifics on how he would do that. So all of a sudden, you want to blame Kamala Harris for what took place in Afghanistan. It's a tragedy. We lost a lot of innocent soldiers. Should have never happened. But you see, JD, now I'm going to ask you a question. We lost over 60 soldiers in Afghanistan when Donald Trump was president of the United States. So I'm wondering, did you call into any conservative radio talk shows blaming Donald Trump for those 60-plus soldiers that died in Afghanistan when Donald Trump was president? Yes or no?
No, we were at war at the
okay,
time.
gotcha. And guess what? We were at war as well, fighting the Taliban, fighting terrorists. So your excuse of not blaming Donald Trump for losing 60-plus soldiers in Afghanistan, American soldiers, you didn't complain about that. You didn't call into any shows about that. And the reason why you didn't is because we weren't at war at the time. JD, how can I take you seriously when you can't even answer the most basic of questions? I appreciate your call. Have a nice day.